Well, says we're live.
It says we're live. Okay, so this would be it. Okay. Hi, folks. I am Tracy, VE3TWM, my YouTube channel, Outdoors on the Air. Two friends are with me tonight, and I'm with them. And this is something we've been planning for a little while now. We're finally getting able to pull off. I've got Chris, Kilo 2, Charlie, Juliet, Bravo, and Tim, November 9SAB. So Chris, of course, has his own YouTube channel. Tim is my antenna guru, my wire antenna guru. He's worked with both Chris and myself, and he's here to answer some antenna questions tonight. And we're going to give a little bit of feedback and perspective back and forth. So over to you, Chris.
All right, thank you, sir, and welcome everybody that's watching. And I just happened to look down, and looks like we are live on both of our feeds, so that's good news.
Nice.
Yep, I'm Chris, K2CJB with K2CJB Radio, and for those of you that have watched my videos, it's I am thankful for that. I'm thankful that you enjoy my offerings and the things I try to put out there. And Tracy and I met through YouTube some time ago, a couple of years ago. And we have contacted each other on the air a few times and make sure that things are go figure, we're ham radio operators. We talk to each other on radio, go figure. And also, yeah, we have Tim with us that both Tracy and I have used Tim's antenna products and have done quite well with them in the field. So Tim, we're going to pass it over to you.
I'm a guy who makes antennas in my spare time.
Good antennas.
And I own a dog. Well, he owns me, actually.
Yeah, I think the dog owns you. Yep.
So those little dings that I'm hearing, is that people joining the stream, or?
Yes. Yeah, I'm seeing there's a couple of folks in.
Yep. So let me just say hi to Brandon. Brandon is a young ham that I was in contact with a couple of years ago. He's really embraced the hobby. So good evening, Brandon. Joseph, VE3GKT. As far as I'm concerned, he is the world champion Parks on the Air guy.
Yes, he is.
He is. I don't know if anybody's done the stuff that Joseph is. So nice. Joseph just says, "Hey, still at work. We'll try to catch up later."
Hey, we should just have him on at some point.
Yes.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Great idea. Yep.
I'm sure he'd be up to. We got Dave from Ottawa, from the nation's capital, and hopefully there's no trucker trucker stuff going on.
Honk, honk.
VA3NIE, hi Dave, and Bo Lacer, Bo KI4 SJU from Kentucky. Thanks all for joining us. So what we're doing here tonight is Tim has gone through his mailbag, and Tim's been selling antennas for a number of years now. He gets some really interesting emails from people who are looking to buy his antennas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out some of the questions that people have asked Tim, and get Tim, the antenna man, to give us his take on it. And then Chris and I will sort of, maybe if we've got any relevant experience in this, chime in from our own perspectives. So the first one we got on the list here, Tim. Hi, I'm looking for a good antenna for the FT-DX10 radio.
Can't help you.
I don't have a lot of room in my yard. Any help would be appreciated. I hear your antennas are really good.
Okay, could you repeat that one just a little slower?
You bet. I'm looking for a good antenna for the FT-DX10 radio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool radio.
I don't have a lot of room in my yard. Any help would be appreciated.
Okay.
I hear your antennas are really good.
Okay, the FT-DX10, I think, has a tuner inside.
I believe it does.
So, yep.
I believe it does. I believe it does too. That's easy. Just the smaller OCF, 40-meter OCF will do everything that you want it to do in that case, as long as you have a tuner.
Now that is a 66. Sorry, Tim. That's a 66-foot wire. And so,
yeah, but you can invert it, so it's not going to take up a lot of space. It's not going to be seen. So if you've got an HOA or something, you could do that. So you could probably put, it's been a long time since high school geometry, but if I have an antenna with an angle at 100 degrees or 110 degrees on both sides, 66 feet becomes whatever the hypotenuse tells you that it becomes, right?
Right.
So
I have an off-center fed that I use here with. I have an FTDX 3000 at the home shack, and for 40 and 80, I have an off-center fed for that, and I have it. It's kind of weird. I mean, I've got it supported in trees at each end, so it's like, I guess they're about like 25, 30 feet up, and then the center of it though is like it was sagging too low, so I just took the center and I pulled it up and attached it onto my tripod mast on the roof. So it's still sort of flat, but it's bent this way. It works fine. It loads up fine. And so again, like wire antennas are very forgiving in a lot of ways. And so
the other thing you could do is you can droop the ends a little bit.
Yes, you can.
So if you get droopy ends, you don't have a problem there. The only other thing that you could do, well, this if you want a wire antenna. I went through this route. I don't have a huge backyard, but I have a good amount of space. But I played a lot with, some of the smaller verticals and things like that.
Right.
But then, to change bands and you have to, they get fiddly and you have to lay radials and you have to do all that stuff. And I always wanted something that I could just put up and then take down if I needed to right away.
Sure.
And that was just an easy wire dipole. And for a radio with an internal tuner, it can do, 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. That would be all you need.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. Now, what I noticed too on mine is, and I don't know if maybe with the DX, that's low power. It has low power rig, or is that full power?
No, it's not. It's 100 watt rig. It's the new. It's a pretty nice. It's got a lot of rave reviews. HF only.
Yeah. So what you may want to do on those, what I did on mine is on the OCF is you may want to put some like the snap-on chokes. Or maybe Tim, I don't know if your choke that hangs in the middle of the antenna, if that would work just to prevent some RF from feeding back on the.
It's the OCFs at least the OCFs that I have a 4-to-1 Balun built in. So
so it shouldn't be an RF problem coming back then.
No.
Yeah, because the one I have, what I was getting, it was weird. I would get when I would try it, I was getting RF over the shack, and it would actually. I have like the little West Mountain Radio. Digital filter that goes in the speaker path, and that would actually just sometimes would lock up on the amount of RF that was coming back. So I went up and put like about 6 the snap-on ferrites on there. That cleared the problem.
Yeah. The other thing too is I've talked to a lot of people who've done like attic installations too, and they find that you can take the 2 elements and you can like go around corners and kind of square them off at the end. There are people who go around corners and up through another tree or something like that. So I mean, it really is forgiving in that case. That's what I would do.
So before we leave this one, Tim, here's an idea. Let's say that that he's got an extremely compact and the V just doesn't work. How would the antenna react if you had to drop the ends vertically for a bit towards the end of them? Is that going to damage the performance, affect it?
No. Well, it's everything is a compromise, right? So that's what I was saying about drooping the ends a bit. So I've known guys who will droop an end and then go off at a 45 and hang it in the middle and then come back at another angle. So you end up with this kind of twisted wire by the time they're done with it, and they have and they're able to get on and operate effectively.
Yeah. I think
if you can imagine putting it in an attic, right, and you have the elements coming out on the long side of the attic and then going forward on the short sides of the house and then coming back on the other side. You follow me?
Yeah.
So it's like a big sphere. It works like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the only thing that changes is probably just the radiation pattern, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Good stuff. Okay, I think we nailed that one. Tim, Brandon, who's watching now, had a question. Looking for alternatives to a motorized ATAS tar heel for my condo balcony situation. Don't have much outdoor space. Have you got any answers for him?
Well, what bands would be my first question. Is he looking to do? Right. You could do some of the higher bands. I know a fella. I have a guy I've talked to many times who lives in Boston, and he lives on like the 8th floor of this condominium building, and he wants to work out of his apartment. So what he did was he put he fed it long ways, right? So it's hanging out the window, He's got one end on top of his balcony, and the other one's strung down below, so it's like a vertical dipole kind of thing. And we actually did some red wire so that it's next to the brick, and you can't see it, so nobody kind of knows it's there.
There
and
you
he's
go.
had some success with that. So, and I think we got him. He's on 20 meters, I think, with that. But I think if you went anymore, you're starting to talk about 40, 50 feet, somewhere around there. It's a little hard to work with. And for the little for the higher, to the 10-meter stuff, he could just string it from one end of his balcony to the other.
That's true.
And
we all know the sunspot cycle is coming fast. And
yes, so 10 to 15 will be fine. Yep.
Yeah, and Brandon just responded. He's not too picky. He uses tuners and low power.
Oh well, yeah. So what you can't do this way, you can do this way.
Correct.
Yeah. And it seems to work just as well.
Cool.
And I can't wait for the sunspots to come either. My entire ham life has been, since 2014, 2015, the low cycle.
Yeah.
So we were talking once before. I actually was tuning around 12 meters and actually heard people talking. It was amazing to me.
Yeah.
I would if I wanted to do 12 or 10 or anything like that, it would always have to be digital.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We'll see.
Cool. Okay, we got another question here from one of your prospective customers who I presume ended up buying. How high? So he's talking about how SWR on 40 meters. What setups have you tried? I think you just addressed some of this. How high have you kept the impedance box above ground during operation? And have you seen a difference in SWR when using the ground stake versus no stake versus a counterpoise? So that sounds to me like he's talking about the random wire end fed there, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
There's two. There's a random wire, and then there's the regular end fed. And actually, the way I set mine up here, because lately anyway, my outdoors on the air consists of my backyard mostly. So I've got some garden statuary there too. So I would throw the one end up in the tree. So it's at a 45 degree, 50 degree angle. And then I would come back, and then I would either use the ground stake, or I would just use the alligator clips that come with it. And I would, stick it onto the steel trellis thing that's buried in the ground. And at low power, I don't get a lot of difference. It's really a question of convenience. If you're out somewhere and you've got some sort of metal in the ground, like a barbecue or something like that at a park, or, I don't get a lot of, there's not a lot of variation. Certainly not anything with the equipment that I use is sensitive enough to read. I don't work with a counterpoise. I just hate having wire all over. So I've never tried that. But I've been able to do, again, low power digital. I can work Europe on good days, Japan.
Sure.
I've gotten into New Zealand once, which I thought was kind of amazing on 5 watts.
Yeah.
Wow. Sweet.
The thing to be careful of, I guess, is that if people don't use if they don't use a counterpoise, or they don't use that ground thing, then the antenna will look for its ground. It'll be the shield of the coax. So as long as you got a long enough piece of coax, you shouldn't have a problem.
Right.
We've got a comment here from. Oh, sorry, Tim. Go ahead, please.
No. Go ahead.
A comment here from Bo. I run a Yaesu FTDX 3000. Sounds like Chris's rig. In my shack with a Chameleon Ecom 3 base and a Chameleon CHA hybrid vertical mounted to a fiberglass 20-foot push-up mast, and seems to work okay, but wish it was better.
An aristocrat. Okay.
Yeah. No, sorry. I think I said it was a question. It's not a question. I guess he's just commenting on what he's running.
So I'm trying to think how that's put together. So I don't know, is the Ecom base, is that one of the clamp-on bases for the Chameleon?
I'm not at all familiar with the Chameleons.
I don't know. They have a lot. They make some really nice stuff. I will say
they do. Yeah.
It's some beautiful equipment.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how he's got it mounted to a push-up, a fiberglass pole.
Right.
But what I'm not seeing there is like, okay, so he's got the vertical, so that's like half of a dipole, right?
Yeah. Well, the Ecom I think is an end fed, isn't it? Isn't it the one with if you've got that?
Well, he's got an Ecom base. That's what I'm trying to. It's the base of the antenna, right?
All right.
And then he's got a vertical on top of, or maybe it's 2 antennas he's talking about here.
I don't know.
Oh, that's what it is. Never mind. No, I think I'm.
Okay.
Two different antennas?
Yeah, the Ecom 3 is one antenna, I think, and then the hybrid, the vertical is mounted on a pole, and that's a different antenna. I think. You know what? I've got the technology. I could look it up.
The first thing that pops out. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
I'm having a hard time visualizing what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up.
The first thing I hear when I see when I'm looking through this comment is, it seems to work okay, but wish it was better. And don't we all say that about every antenna?
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
When I see a fiberglass 20-foot push-up mast, the first thing I think to myself is, that's not very tall. And mind you, you're talking to a guy who uses a 50-foot. You know, and so maybe I'm a poor point of reference on this. But typically, if it's just a vertical element, maybe he's running counterpoises on the ground or just off the ground. Maybe that's okay. But I'm always focusing in on the height, you know, because I know that height is might when it comes to antennas.
Yes,
certainly. You know what? But on that subject, have you guys seen? There's a YouTuber out there. His name's Tim. Again, he's G5TM, I think.
Golf 5 Tango Mike, one of my friends. I like him a lot. We'll have to get him on Monday.
He puts out a lot of content. I don't know if you've noticed that. I mean, he's got something there every day, and I'm subscribed. So I see these come through the feed, you know, all the time. And he did one on varying heights performance of low dipoles at varying heights. And I think what he found was there wasn't a lot of difference between 15 feet and 20 feet or 25 feet. And you didn't really start seeing a great deal of performance enhancement until you get up into like the 3/8 wave territory, which, you know, it just kind of gives you an idea. 40 meters, it's quite high. Mine here, I've got the 80 meter version of that OCF dipole, and it's up about 35 or 40 feet. And I have never, I dream about getting it higher sometimes, you know, but practically it's going to be impossible. Okay. They got 2 levels to the house, and I attached it to the chimney and then went up with some military mast about another 7-8 feet. Right. So maybe 38, 40 feet at the maximum. And I've never felt the need to go any higher with that, you know, and I did plenty of work on 80 meters. So I know, the work that he is modeling on the computer, and he does that through a lot of models, right? And he went through that whole stage. My only caution would be that's excellent, but the world in practice and the world on paper are a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I've got my 80 meter up at 30 something feet, and I'm a happy hand.
Yep.
And just a further note on that. So I learned years ago, I tried to run a field day when I could only get dipoles up at 20 feet. It was a disaster. It wasn't until I was able to reliably get dipoles and then fed antennas up to the 30-foot mark that it really came together for me. So and I find that difference between 20 and 30 to be huge.
And I think that was the point of his of the exercise that he did. It's like you can get it up 15 feet or whatever, and we're talking, you know, 40 meters, 30 meters, stuff like that. You're not going to see a lot of difference between 15 and 20. It's not until you get up to around 28, 30 feet that you really start to see that performance increase.
Right.
But now, right? Okay, so I've got mine, you know, fairly up high, and I'm able to work all of these POTA stations, which is fantastic, except for the ones that are within, you know, an hour or two of me. Like I always see that on the screen, they always pop up. They're up at the Bong Recreation Area, or they're, you know, over here in Kenosha, or Kettle Moraine or something, you know, or even the ones out west past Rockford. Can't hear them. Can't hear everybody working them. Can't hear them. You know? So.
I remember doing a parks event with the club I was in down in Pennsylvania, and we lived down there, and we were doing this, like, we used to call this radio day. A bunch of us went out to a park, and we would set up whatever antennas we had, and so I had to leave, and I'm heading home, and I listened on a 7100 in my truck, and as I was driving away from the park, I was listening to one of the guys working 40 meters. I got about 3 miles in the park, gone. he wasn't even there, and he was operating 100 watts. But
so my solution has been, I've got room here to put up really 4 antennas, right? 3 that I use all the time. So I've got the main one, which is the big 80 meter, 40 foot high job. and then I've got what I test my antennas on out here, and it's just a stacked military mast. It goes up to about 28 feet, I think. If 4 sections, 7 times 4 is 28, right? Ish. So, you know, I'm testing everything off that, and I find that if I lower my 40 meter down to about 25 feet, maybe a little 24 feet, somewhere around there, you know, I can just work NVIS basically, and you know, catch all the local stations like that. But then I got to go outside. I got to switch them around, and you know, which
Tim,
I'm not doing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not doing that in January. Okay.
You're a fair weather ham. What is that?
So here, I was just going to say, here's what's funny. Here's Tim wearing a hoodie. I got a hoodie on, right? I'm in Connecticut. Tim, you're in the Midwest, and there's there's Tracy up in Canada wearing a T-shirt. What's up with this? Well, Tracy's hardcore, man. He did a video of him. It was literally in a blizzard. He's sitting at a park bench. I was like, you're out of your mind.
I did with the field day, eh?
That's right.
Hey, listen, speaking of weather, we've got an Aussie that's joined, Sean, VK6BEK. He's got a great question here. Any tips on strengthening wire antennas for permanent installations?
Okay.
I've had no problem. If you've got a higher gauge wire, like say, like I use 18 gauge for some of the stuff that I use, and it's the UL1007. It's got a pretty good tensile strength on there.
Mm-hmm.
There are now those friends of mine that we've talked about before. They do make a Teflon coated Kevlar reinforced wire for some installations like that. If you think now, primarily the main advantage of that to me would be the cold, right? Because like the UL107, when it gets, I mean, I'm in Chicago, okay, it gets cold and wire gets stiff, and the insulation, you know, over time will crack. And but this stuff is actually, you know, that temperature extreme tensile strength type of wire. So I mean, it's out there if you want to get it. It's kind of expensive. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's the chameleon wire. Their wire, their Kevlar reinforced Teflon wire.
Do they now for a permanent installation though? Do they still make that copper weld wire? It was like a steel. It was like a steel.
There's
inside
a copper-clad steel wire out there. I don't like that.
No, because I'm thinking permanent. Like, okay, it's really tough to work with. Once it's up, it's up.
Now, the way I understand this, okay, is you've got a copper-clad steel, which takes advantage of like the skin effect, I guess, right? So the RF is going on the outside of the wire, and you just got the steel wire to reinforce it, which is okay. I've not had any problems really with the wire that I use, but if it was necessary to do that, there are some Teflon, Kevlar metamaterial wires out there that you can work with. Now, you'd have to trim it, okay? Because when I make antennas with my wire, and then I take a different wire, like say I would take this Kevlar wire and use that, I come up with completely different lengths for the antennas. So the Teflon wire is actually a good 6 to 8 inches longer on like 40 meters than what it is with my tinned copper. Just saying. Right.
Now, Lester, W3LES commented that that the copper weld wire is still available. You can get it at Tractor Supply. So it's out there. And I'm just thinking the other thing to make sure like a wire antenna is going to hold up in a permanent installation. Like if each end isn't really like on a rigid kind of mount, if you're relying on trees, trees are swinging around in the wind, they're going to snap something in there, right? So I always try to keep one end of it. What I do with mine is like I've got them up over a branch, and down at the bottom they're tied off. But there's a point at the branch where as the tree moves, the rope will move back and forth. I use the antenna line from Quicksilver Radio I used for it, and that's been up a couple of years here, and it's worked fine.
So I got some cheesy arborist line that I just bought off of eBay, right? The slick line, it's got that wax coating on it. And I did pretty much the same thing. So I've got this one's going across the street, and it's going back into my backyard as well. It comes down, and then I've got a weight on one side, and the other end tied off. So when it goes like this, the weight just kind of swings up and down. And it's been up. It's been for 4 or 5 years now. I've not had a problem.
You can use pulleys too, like Les was just saying too. You can use pulleys too.
Actually, I've seen some really cool ground pulleys. You can buy. They're horribly expensive for the what they do, but
Yeah.
you could do all kinds of crazy fun things with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
guys, listen, we've got a couple of. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
The slick line was the trick for me though, because it tends
Yes.
not to wear the
Yes.
branches, and it just kind of goes back and forth. So
Yeah, well, I got this stuff. I got like 100 feet of it from Quicksilver is not far from me, right here in Meriden, and I got 100-foot spool of this antenna line.
Yeah.
That, it works great, and you can. I've had it up in trees and like in the cold weather here, and it's exactly probably the same stuff. Yep.
Probably.
Yeah. And we're
Like
and works
driving
great.
a boat. Left is right and right is left.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Guys, we've got some comments. I'm just going to read out a couple, and then there's a question. So we've got Mike Kennerneck, LOL. I was watching 10 ball 5 Tango Mike.
Uh-oh.
Is he breaking up there? Is that him or is that me?
That's
A few years. I think I'll put up dipoles and verticals on different bits.
He was yelling at me about my internet.
That one. Having an issue, guys?
yeah, you're breaking up, Trace.
Okay. I might have to go upstairs and yell at somebody to stop streaming.
See, I took care of that.
Have you got me okay now?
I took care of that in advance.
Oh, no, Charm froze up again.
Charmed is not on today, so.
Okay. I know.
Trying to find that comment you were talking about.
Yeah, there was a question there somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I have the antennas mounted down by the woods behind my house to keep the XYZ happy. But my vertical does touch limbs of the trees. Will that detune my antenna?
No, shouldn't.
No.
I don't think so. I've never had a problem. I've had all kinds of wires. My main home wire here.
Yeah. You just want to avoid metal objects, I think, is the big thing.
Yes, agreed.
No,
that's why, in the field, that's why I use the fiberglass poles for everything. I know guys use the aluminum painter poles, but I'm always afraid that there's going to be some sort of interaction with that hunk of metal in the middle of an antenna and a V. So I just use the fiberglass stuff, and it's not a problem.
I went with the military aluminum with some of my stuff. Just because. I've seen fiberglass, especially when it gets real cold and it's windy here. I was like, I'm right on the lake, so
yeah.
It's like the other day we had like a 50-mile-an-hour gale, and I was always worried about fiberglass cracking and stuff like that. So I went with the aluminum. It presents us some challenges, but I think who did a good thing on that was it Dave Kassler? What's his K5OG or whatever. Yeah, and I think he was talking about anything within like 3 feet of the end of the dipole, metal, like gutters or something like that, will have an impact on the antenna.
Yes.
How big of an impact? I mean, depends totally on the circumstances. But
right, it would probably couple off the ends. Yep.
Yeah, if you got a wire antenna that just goes through trees and touches branches, nah.
Yeah. No, I never. And even if it gets wet, it's like I've never had that issue either.
Yeah, I've had no problems here. I've had more problems with wet coax than I've had with anything like that.
Yes. Yep.
So my offspring was streaming. She forgot it was my night.
Charmed.
She might still be doing it.
You got an eye? You got an eye on the chat, Chris? Or you?
Yeah, I do. I have the chat open. Let me see. I'm trying to find that question that was asked. I might just pick one. Let's see. Where are we going here? Where are we? Okay, so this is one he was asking. Okay, this is Bo's question. So I have the antennas mounted down by the woods behind my house to keep the XYZ happy.
Always policy.
We were just talking about my vertical does touch the limbs. Okay, that's what we were just talking about. Okay. Let's see if there's any. I think those are. I'm looking at some of the other comments. Well, actually, I had a guy on my channel. I hope he's still in there. I have Steven WW5V, and I got Gaston LU5 AGQ from Argentina. That's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, Lester W3LES is in. WA4 AMG Terry is in. So that's pretty cool. No, this is I should put it out there. This is the first time we're doing this. so you're looking at three guys that are kind of bumbling their way around.
Two guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 2.5. Oh man. Well, as long as the stream, I guess I'm looking at it. I'm watching it. I have my my iPad down below here, so I'm watching it to make sure we're up. So, and we're still up. So, it's just for some reason Tracy's camera keeps locking up on him.
Am I back, guys?
Yeah. Yep. Not full res yet, but you're there.
Okay, I kind of like it a little blurry. You're all right.
the blob squatch. You guys, I'll have to explain that reference to you later. Cross-channel interference. I like that one. Good job. Okay, are we ready for another one then, guys? So here we go, Tim. Shack is up on the 3rd floor, about 30 feet or so high. I'm planning on running the end-fed half-wave as a sloper to a mast at the property line, maybe 10 feet up. In that configuration, is it better to put the feed point at the high end or the low end?
So he could theoretically be running it upside down, right?
Could be.
Electrically, I don't see a problem with that off the top of my head. But you'd have to, but try it, right?
I can weigh in on this one. I have used end feds very successfully in both configurations. For years in a previous residence, I ran a 40-meter end fed, resonant end fed, with the high end on my tower, and that's sloping down to the far corner of my backyard, and it worked absolutely beautifully. In the field, I have used the low end down near the ground. What we got there, Tim?
This is
it's like a weapon.
It is actually. This is a 160-meter sloper.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is and the guy sells these on eBay, and they're totally cool. And I wanted a 160-meter short antenna, right? So I worked all states with this bad boy on 160, and I took it to. So yeah, so if you'd have been in my neighborhood 4 or 5 years ago, you'd have seen some fool up on his roof fiddling with this thing. Okay, and I originally did it with the coax on the ground, and then this end, kind of went up towards the top of the chimney. I really had to go to the top of the chimney, right?
Yeah.
And it was working, and so I figured I got, I'm so smart I can do all of this stuff. So I went and actually switched it around. So I had this end, the weapon end, right, on the chimney, and was actually running it upside down, and did that for 3 or 4 months like that, and
it worked.
No effect at all. It was fine. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I had my coax. My coax was going up in the air, so that so maybe I had a little bit of a vertical section to it. I don't know, but I certainly didn't work anybody with upside down that I did right side up. So
right.
Yeah, she's a beauty. I forget what these run, but if you want to run 160 and you don't have a lot of room, this is a cool antenna.
So what's inside the tube?
You can see it's a giant coil.
A big coil, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a big coil. So I got coax on that end, and there's like a hook you can hang, so you could straighten it out if you want to. Yeah, and this is probably 40 feet of 16 gauge wire coming out the end.
Nice.
No, I don't remember how broadbanded it was though. But again, like I said, I worked all states with this thing.
That's awesome. Worked all states in 160. That's great.
Yeah. It was cool. It was awesome.
I've never made a contact on 160, and it's funny where we live now. I've got some room. I could probably run something around the property somehow to fit a 160-meter antenna, and I've never worked it.
I might be lying though, because I don't remember. I'd have to look it up or not if I hit Hawaii or Alaska with this. I think I did.
Still, you got out with it. That's for sure.
See, I have an advantage with this kind of things because I'm in the middle of the country, so I can go both ways. Somebody on the coast might not be able to
Correct. Right. And if you're in a suburban lot, like, forget trying to work 60.
Well, this is an old town, so it's not like a subdivision or anything like that. But it's
right.
I live in town, so it was So one end up on the chimney, the other end going down to the ground, and vice versa, back and forth. And 160 was doable. It was doable. That was the point.
I had a question that come up in my feed here. How much power were you operating with that?
Oh, it'll take 100 watts. I don't think I ever went up that high though.
Okay.
I did do some SSB. There was the top band contest or the Stuart Varney top band contest.
Okay.
So there's like some SSB on there too. So that I probably would have done 100 watts with, but at the time and the way I did it was probably pretty much digital and CW.
Right.
So I would guess probably no more than 50 watts.
Oh, there you go. And the thing is, like you said, like you haven't operated when the sunspots have really been in, full swing. So yeah,
that was in the dead of winter, like 2016 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was, perfect top. It was sunset was at 4 o'clock, and you could do that, pretty much all night.
Yeah, exactly.
So a heck of a deal. I know that they still sell them on eBay, and he's got 80-meter ones and 160 meter ones too.
Now, who is it that makes these?
Oh heck, I'd have to look. If you go on eBay and search like 160-meter sloper, it'll come up.
Okay. Okay.
And it's got a picture. It's like you took the picture of it. It's like on his deck or something like that. So it's like this wood background. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I'm looking at through your mailbag here. There's another, and I think this is actually a good question. A lot of folks may have a interest in. It's a guy has your OCF dipole, and the question is regarding the radiation pattern compared from flat top inverted V sloper, and how does it differ from the G5RV?
It's different. Off the top of my head, I don't. The OCF in a regular flat top configuration looks just like a dipole, right?
Right.
But it's different on the different bands, and I think with the higher you get, the lobes tend to come out to the side, and the lower you are, it does that the bubble thing.
Right.
And for the sloper, if you just Google OCF radiation pattern, you'll get pretty much all that information, in your face. It'll be right there.
Yep.
Off the top of my head, I don't use it as a sloper. I mean, you could.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it that way. I just hang it as a regular dipole and find that it works well that way.
This might be a good time to bring up the conversation about the response of a dipole, flat top or inverted V. Now I know folks that have watched my channel, they've seen that, like, when I readjusted the length of the link dipole, because I operate inverted V. So you may want to just talk like what the input is on flat top versus inverted V. Yeah,
I get that question a lot. I mean, a dipole that's going to be resonant on one frequency, flat top, is going to be different when it's actually inverted. So, did we lose Tracy there?
Did we lose them all together?
He probably is going to come back in. No big deal.
Let's hope.
But so the antenna is electrically shorter when it's inverted, and the deeper the inversion that you go, the more difference you're gonna see in that. I found that a lot of guys in the field, it's just easier to erect an inverted V dipole than it is a flat top dipole. So
yes,
one of the things he's back. There we go. So one of the things I've discussed or thought about is offering, the regular dipole that I would use, and then an inverted version where it's cut to the same frequency, but then calibrated at this, 110, 120 degrees kind of thing. And again, the world on paper and the world in practice are very different.
Two totally different things. And if you're using, which of course, to use your antennas outside, of course I do for, when I say outside, like portable. You go into a park, the situation's different every park you go to. So, if you're doing POTA. So, Yeah, some days I can have that thing, like stretched out pretty far. Some days I'm barely just getting the droop out of the wire, depending where I am, and depending what's around me too.
The nice thing about the dipole is, though, it does have that nice, sloping bell curve across the entire.
That's right.
Especially 40, right? Everybody's talking 40 meters, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
And so one cut for 7/150 or so, you're still in that upper end of the SSB portion of the band, and you're still able to do digital CW on the bottom end without the SWR going all wonky.
Yep. Another question that came up, and I'm looking at here. Somebody had asked, like, what coax do you recommend? So of course, we know it's going to be 50 ohm coax, but now you get into the debate of, is it going to be the 174? Is that it, or the really thin coax, or
58 or 174? The guy we were just talking about, that what's his name, G5TM, I think.
Yep.
The video not too long ago too on the different coax types, and I think that was the actual question that he was trying to answer was, 174 versus 58 versus RG8X versus LMR 400 or something like that.
Right. Yep.
Well, I would recommend anybody concerned about coax would watch that. Personally, I use RG8X.
Me too.
It's what I've always used. I could get away with 174 and have it be lighter and stuff like that. And a lot of the backpack guys will swear by, the smaller, B and C oriented coax.
Yes.
That's all perfectly fine. And
Yeah.
I think the conclusion that he reached in that video was for any runs greater than 30 feet, you don't you run into a problem using the losses on 174, I think.
Yes.
So it was like 30 feet or greater. Nah, it's probably not the greatest, but anything less than 30 feet, you're losing maybe half a dB or less.
Yeah,
than
so it's not a big loss. It's not a big loss. And I have in my portable kit, I use RG8X. In my truck, I wired that all up in RG8X. Here at home, it's funny, when I moved up here to Connecticut, I had a bunch of RG8 cables that short lengths, long lengths. And I actually wound up using most of that here in the home shack. I was like, well, why not? I've got it. It's not like cable wears out. So I've been, and it's RG8, man. It's not going anywhere.
So when I first started out, and I spent some time, looking at the different ones or whatever, and I'd planned out kind of what I wanted to do, and ended up, with a lot of the heavy duty direct bury cables, stuff like that. Here I've got, and I made a bunch of jumpers once upon a time. So it's the heavy, but this stuff, actually working with it, is no fun at all.
No, this is true. Like when I ran the RG8, I was like, yeah, and I used it like in the shack here. I was like, wow, this stuff, I really had to really work it to get it where I wanted it, to dress it up.
And then I discovered RG8X, and that was a game changer for me.
Yes.
So start, talking about portable and doing things like that, because even a 30-foot length of RG8X, you can coil it up, and it's not. But I understand if you're in a backpack or you're hiking or something like that, and you've got a 16-ounce thing or an 8-ounce thing.
Yeah, that 8 ounces makes a big difference.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
That's true.
I was in the Army too, and I could tell you that 8 ounces over a 20-mile march or something like that. By the end,
it makes a big difference. Yep. Yeah, well, it's I've been using most of my POTA things, it's a drive up to a spot. I'm like, oh, I think I'll set up right here, So I just grab my bag and I take everything out. Just the last time I did, the last one I did, too.
I don't want to get out of the car.
Yep. The last POTA activation I did, I actually had a hike to the spot. It was like about a half a mile hike to get to where I worked. So I'm actually going to use this backpack on my back for a change.
Cool.
Yeah. Looks like Tracy's doing everything he can to get his feed to work.
That's okay. I think we're doing all right. We're doing all right. We're at 45 minutes. I don't know.
For me here.
I can keep going. I got no problems.
Let's see. Looking at some other questions you got here. Okay, here's a guy asking one. The two wires from the center, this is an OCF again. Oh, no, yeah, an OCF. The two wires from the center will make an inverted V. However, the wires will be partially about a half to a third of the length of the wire sitting directly on the roof. Will that work as it'll touch the rooftop? And then he's quite worried about like the hot summers and cold winters.
Is it a metal roof?
Yeah, it doesn't
If it was a
say.
metal roof. If it's just if you just like asphalt shingle or cedar shake or something, you know, I don't. You're not going to get the performance out of it that you really want. It may be
Correct.
difficult to tune if you're talking about half the element sitting on the roof.
Yeah.
It might get blown around a bit too. You know, if it's.
Yes, I'm thinking that too. Like if it's just laying there, it could be flopping around. Yeah.
So I always encourage you, because I get a lot of questions regarding installations and stuff like that, and you know, we've had to take people through some serious attic twists and turns and things like that. And there are a lot of guys who end up, you know, I just don't have the yard space, so I've got to, you know, and you know, let's droop the ends. You know, you can twist, you know, at a 45-degree and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I encourage, to have pictures or a diagram or something like that is always best. You know, it makes things a lot easier. Sure. That way you can design the antenna for what they need it for. Yeah. But a metal roof, you know, that's a whole separate group of challenges. Exactly. And I want a metal roof, actually. I do. I'm prepared for this challenge. I'm prepared to accept those challenges if I could have a metal roof. Oh man. Let's see. What else? Who else? Looking for well, I want to, you know, Tracy can't join us, so we can have some fun with this. Yeah, well, you know, it's funny. I can say this, and he can't say anything back to me while he's trying to get himself working. But when I first got I've been playing with ham radio since 1976. So when I first got the bug to start noodling around with QRP, there were two guys actually that on YouTube that I really learned a lot from. One was Tony K9ARV, which he doesn't have his channel anymore. But I know you worked with him in his early days. And then, yep. And then Tracy was the other one. Yeah, and Tracy was the other channel that I just, in fact, I made the decision to buy the 817 because I was watching, you know, Tracy stuff and Tony stuff. So you can imagine how disappointed I was when Tracy put a video up and say why I sold my FT 817. Yeah, I was like, really? I said, dude, I spent the money because you did. If you go back to that video and you look in the comments, there's an anonymous commenter there, you know, calling him a so and so. Yep. Yeah, it's all his fault. I bought that radio. I don't know who that was. Oh, well, it wasn't me. I can tell you that. Yeah. But then he backtracked and he got rid of the icon that he had and he got his old FT817 back. So, you know, make your mind, dude. You know. I still have. You know what? I have to buy a new radio, and we all have to buy new radios, right? Of course. I never met a ham who didn't want a new radio. Right. But I'm going to have to buy a new radio here too, and I'm kind of torn. I've got the 817, which I love. I love be giving mine away or selling it or doing anything like that. But I've been going, you know, through. People are talking about that. Was it the Zegu 6100 or something like that? Oh, the new one. Yeah. He's waving. This Tracy. No. Personally, I want like a KX2, right? Or KX. Yes. Yeah, beautiful. But I'm just too damn cheap. You know, you got to mortgage your house to get one of those. Yeah, I'm not, you know, metal roof or radio. Yeah, there you go. I know how that conversation's going to go. Yeah. So, you know, and that's really what I want. So I'm looking for something in between, and I've been exploring some of the other, like QR Peter has that Minion Mini, I think, the Radio Pepe. Yes, that's right. He's got one. Yeah. On the Mini. I'm looking at that. I like that. Radio Prepare. Some of those ones too, like the Lab 500 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think, but they were in Ukraine, weren't they? I mean, maybe. What's going on with them? Is that stuff going to be available? I mean, probably not. Probably not. Yeah. The you know, that's a guy we should get on if we can get the time right. I'd love to have a session with Gilles. No, Gilles. Yeah. He what I like. He comes up with these little gadgets and widgets that he comes up with, and I duplicate. He built a little, like a low power dummy load, right? And
I duplicated the project. I saw what he did, and I said, "Hey, that looks cool." So I bought the parts, and I built, and the thing works like a champ. It's a great little tiny little metal box with a little 50 ohm resistor in it. But then I was really, when I tested, I said, "Okay," I said, "It's really low power. I wouldn't run my FTDX 3000 into it." So I bought like the high power resistors, right, and a bunch of them to put in parallel to make a real dummy load. I've got the metal box and all that stuff. It's just one of those things. Like, yeah, when I find an hour to put the thing together, I'll do it. So. But yeah, Jill's got a great channel. He's got some great ideas.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love when he puts stuff out too, and the whole drone thing too. Yeah, I got a drone for Christmas, and I've been waiting to get out there and fly that thing around and see how that does. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and there are guys who use the drones to lift up like one end of the antenna and drop it over or whatever, right?
I wanted to do that. I was thinking about doing that years ago with like a helium balloon or something, right? And then you get it gets all wavy, and so you tether it on one end and let it go up. I mean, I don't know, but I wanted to do that too. There's a park right across the street that no one ever really goes to. People in my neighborhood are a little bit older, so it's like the park is always empty. So it'd be the perfect place to do something like that. That would be fun.
Yeah, yeah.
You have batteries up there, and you got to hover the drone while the thing sits, and it's just something you have fun for like 5 minutes, and then I'd have to stop.
Yep.
We'll see. Yeah, I like his content too. I like that G5TM, that guy's content, and he puts, like I said, he puts out a lot of stuff. I mean, wow,
they're to crank out a lot of content. Yep.
But back to the radio though, so like the QRP-ver, I forget the wattage on that, but I need 20 watts, right? I mean, if anything, some of the work that Tracy did kind of proves out that really 20 watts is nice to really get out there and start working and doing stuff. And it just seems to me, I don't want to buy a 100-watt radio to go out there and work 20 watts.
Right. Yep. So the 891 will do it. You can dial it back, I guess, but to your point, it's like I bought a 100-watt radio. Why am I going to go down to 20 watts? We lost Tracy altogether.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, he's probably going to reboot himself and try again.
He'll reconnect, which is fine.
The 891. I know a lot of guys use that. Then there's a new ICOM. There's a new ICOM, the 705. Isn't that it? But that's like buying a full blown rig. That's not cheap.
I'm gonna make people mad. I don't want an ICOM radio. Everything I've got is Yaesu, pretty much.
Okay.
If I'm gonna make a jump, and I hate fiddling through with all. I mean, I had to buy one of those charts. Do you see that in the back there?
Yep.
Just to do this kind of stuff, And the older I get, the more I just don't want to. I just don't want to deal with this.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's
interesting. I've got my main rig here is the Yaesu. I have a Yaesu FT70DR80. I have my in the shack here. I've got Kenwood. What is it? The V70, the TM V7, whatever. The VHF UHF rig. That's here. But now in the truck, I've got the ICOM 7100. And the only reason why I went with that, to be honest with you, like you said, like the older you get, those digits on that display are pretty big.
Oh, really?
So when I'm driving, I can just glance down and see where I am rather than having to but I was going to get the 891 for the truck. I was like, I don't know, that display could be a little small, while you're driving. So my concern with the 7100 is it's got a great noise blanker in it for HF. Look, I have a 2015 F250 and it's got the coil on plug ignition stuff. And that is just noisy, man. That is a noise generator. And the ICOM noise filter for noise blanker on HF works okay. I mean, it really cleans it up. But check it out. If I'm on working like a repeater and and the repeater signal's getting a little weaker, I can start to hear that noise in an FM signal. I was like, man, man. I've got all sorts of ferrites and everything else and toroids and everything on all the antenna lines and power lines. Nothing's cleaning it up.
That stuff. You can go nuts with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's on tap for probably the next 6 months or so. Talk myself into buying a KX2 or something like that. Because nobody's ever heard. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about that radio.
No, it's a great radio.
In fairness, I've never heard everybody ICOM people love their ICOMs or whatever, but I've just I just don't want to have to learn all that stuff again. If I have to buy another one of these, there's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Last night I decided to finally get around to programming my HTs. Now I have a couple of them. I've got the Yaesu. I've got a TYT TH350, which is a tri-band, works 220, and it came with programming software, and it's clunky. The software is clunky. Like, it doesn't do the offset calculations for you. You have to actually put in transmit and receive frequencies for every repeater you're working. That's a great little radio. I mean, I love that thing. And then of course, I got the Baofeng UV5R, because we all got one, because why not? Let's get one and play with it, right?
I got one.
It's okay. No, it's great. It's okay, but
I listen to the police scanner on it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I did. There was all that talk about how like noisy they were, dirty they were, that they had all these harmonics coming out of them. So I did a very unscientific test. I parked an HT on my desk, and I walked outside with the Baofeng, walked down the block, and I transmitted at a harmonic, and sure enough, it came through clear as day, like being a good 500 feet away, clear as day at a harmonic. Yeah, incredible. So
Listen, one of the reasons I got into ham radio in the first place was with disaster preparedness, right?
Right.
Back in 2009, 2010, we had a series of storms come through the Chicago area and just decimated the northern suburbs, right? And we were without power for 3 or 4 days, so it was kind of a clue just to kind of, we ought to have something that does it. So the first thing I started.
Nope. Well, now we got Tracy back, and we lost him.
I'm here. Yeah,
there you are. Yep. Go ahead. Tracy got himself working, and he locked you up.
Okay. This has been a nightmare. Just a nightmare. I think the cable company's getting a call tomorrow.
Good for you.
Usually it's my internet, right? Because I'm wireless, so but I haven't had any problems. I don't think.
No, you're okay. You just froze up that one time. You're fine now.
All right. Well, anyway, so it made the most sense in the world to have a couple of handhelds or something like that. And anybody who goes shopping for a handheld, right, is going to find, I've got this U5R or whatever it is that, and it's how much was the thing? $20? $20,
right? Yeah, $30. Yeah, to get the whole thing, drop in charger and everything. Yeah.
That's a no-brainer.
Exactly. Yep. Actually, I'm in the process, and I'm going to do a video on it when I get all the parts and pieces. I'm going to put together an HT go bag. I got the idea from KM4ACK. He's got another great channel out there. He's all about Raspberry Pi, right? Yeah, but he did a nice 2 meter portable pack to take with him, especially when he's in his wife's car, because there's no radio in it. So, and I was like, the wife and I about 2 weeks ago went on a trip. We're up in upstate New York and all over, and down Long Island, and I had no radios. I was like, okay, so here I am, this radio guy. How come I have no radios with me, kind of thing? So I'm going to put together a pack that I'm waiting for all the bits and pieces to come in. I'm going to do a quick video on it.
Is he the guy that does that NFED, which is just it's like a little toroid, and it's like a diode, and it's like this big, and you put your end on it or whatever?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
It might be him.
Yeah, that's the coolest little thing.
He's really big on Raspberry Pi. I know that. He does everything with it.
I've used Raspberry Pi very little. I have I run a Bitcoin node, which was Raspberry Pi. So
right.
So that's kind of been my experience with Raspberry Pi, and a couple other places too. But I've not been. And I hear they're hard to get now too. So if you want the Raspberry Pi 4B or something like that, it's impossible to find now. So,
right. I don't know enough about them. It's I know they're great little gadgets. I remember when they first came out. I was still working at the time at ABC in New York, and one of the computer guys said, "Hey, you got to check this out. It's this tiny little box. It's a full computer in that thing." I said, "Well, that's pretty cool,
I did my entire portable setup around doing digital. Right, I wanted to be able to have the capability to do portable digital.
Right,
and I built it around. I got one of the first touchscreen laptops way back in the day, and built the power box and everything, around. So I've got these, heavy lead acid batteries and stuff like that, around being able to run the laptop. Being able to do that with the Raspberry Pi is just going to be, that's a big step forward.
Sure.
But without being able to find the Raspberry Pi anymore, so what I've got is like a Windows Surface tablet, You know,
Yep.
as far
Yep.
as power draw, I mean that's kind of, so I'm redesigning the whole thing with the lithium battery and the Surface tablet rather than you know, the laptop or even the Raspberry Pi, because that's you know, hard to get. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yep. Yeah. I haven't noodled around with that. I mean, I don't know anything about them, so one of these days I'll get around to that in my copious spare time.
Yeah, mine too. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
All right, I guess there we just crossed an hour there.
We did. And folks haven't started complaining about us yet.
Hey, yeah. Is there anybody still left? What do you want to do? You want to keep going? You want to?
Well, I think Tracy's got the be all end all button to end this. I think, right?
Oh, okay. I think he quit on us though. I think
I think he's going to try. He's trying to reboot one more time. I think so.
Okay. Well, we'll wait for him then.
Yeah, we can keep. So let's talk about your little because I have one. The little impedance.
Little choke thingy.
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't that fun?
So now I ran it when I tested it. When I ran it like in the middle of the link dipole.
Yeah, this is what I do with it.
Okay.
Just coax choke.
Yep, dipole. That was it. Hung it right at the bottom of the antenna. Yep.
Did you find that it worked for you?
No, I mean, I did, what I want to do, and I think what I'm going to try this summer is like to set the link dipole up at the house here, right in the backyard. And I'm going to test it. I'll do it with the choke and without it, and just we'll run the antenna analyzer on it and other stuff, and see how it performs. If it does anything. I think that'd be a good A/B comparison.
Yeah, the thing with that is I had started coming up with, and I was doing a lot with just the little monoband dipoles out in the backyard, low dipole. Right. 20 meters, 40 meters, taken out. It's like, I wish I had something, right? So I started looking around to design like a 1-to-1 balun for it.
Right.
Just to smooth out some of the bigger bands, you kind of wanted, so, it would just smooth out SWRs and things like that. And you would get a little bit of, CMC reduction in there too, and just to see how that kind of worked, and I found it did reduce some of the noise, because I again, here I am noisy.
Yes.
So a little bit of noise
that would be the test I want to try here with it. It's like because around here, same thing, like 40 meters here, it's just noisy, so I might throw it on there and then take it, just a whole run it through I think it'd be good for all of us to see like just what it does and what the impact is of having that.
The main thing was though with the low dipole. Hang on a second. There we go.
That sounded a lot like Godzilla.
It is Godzilla, as a matter of fact.
There you go. So
yeah, I'm fooling around with the low dipoles in the backyard and clearing out some of the 40 noise. And there you go. Is that the
lean green fighting machine?
New one? Oh, good for you. Rodan was always my favorite, though, but I appreciate God's. They don't have a Rodan ringer, so. Did you see Shin Godzilla? Did you see Shin Godzilla at all?
Not a fan
of Shin Godzilla.
Of Shin Godzilla. No, because he's the bad guy. Godzilla's the way I look at it, Godzilla is the world's greatest superhero.
No.
I used to argue with a woman at work who was into Wonder Woman. She told me Wonder Woman could take Godzilla, and it's like, come on, you didn't just say that.
She's got a lasso, dude. This is what I used to tell my son. I used to make my son watch Godzilla movies with me, right? And if you look at the original 1954 Godzilla movie, okay, the whole theme of that movie, Godzilla is a force of nature, and when man messes around with things that he doesn't understand or can't control, you get what's coming, and Godzilla is what's coming, right? And then over time, it evolved into the silly B movies that we all saw. But Shin Godzilla, which I love, don't get me wrong, I love
quality entertainment.
I love them. It's some of my favorite stuff. Shin Godzilla was kind of a return back to the whole theme of Godzilla's not nice.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and it really is an excellent movie if you can check it out.
I saw it and I was not impressed, but that's because I when I was a kid, Godzilla was always beating the monsters that were trying to destroy the world, and it was like
I grew up with
the hero, and then I was cool with that.
I grew up with that too, but I grew up, and No, it's just kind of a
No,
more serious.
this guy's not growing up. No, not if I have to sacrifice that.
When you
So
come
here's what's funny. So go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
When you come down you have to activate Lake Michigan at some point, right?
We're gonna make that happen for sure.
And
I don't know if it's going to be this year. Sadly, it's kind of shaping up like it's not going to be this year.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
But
Well, I'll
maybe
show you
next
my
year for sure.
I'll show you my 1954 Godzilla movie poster that I've got.
Nice.
So here's what's funny. So Tim said he took his son to Godzilla movies, right? Me and my daughter used to spend Saturday mornings watching the Three Stooges.
Well,
and when I was
I can top.
It was Godzilla, right? It was Godzilla. It was like, destroy all monsters. And then on the USA Network, there was Kung Fu Theater too. So it was like the best of both worlds.
So I can top Tim's story. I mean, it's wonderful to spend time with your boy. It's another thing entirely and a totally different level to take your wife on your anniversary to see the limited engagement of Godzilla 2000.
Oh, fantastic.
Tracy, you're some kind what a romantic you are.
No, not at all. Hey, listen, David Bond has just thrown a question our way. Actually, no. He said, anyway, low power random wire works great for me. So
good.
Absolutely.
That is probably, if I have a favorite antenna, if I could do this all over again, right, and know everything that I know now, I would do a couple of things. I would go with the 2040 link dipole with the little choke, right? That would be my setup.
Great
right?
antenna. Yep. Great antenna.
If I didn't have a tuner, if I had a tuner, I would go with the random wire. I like that one. I think that it doesn't sell for anything, but I like it.
I'm going to say, Tim, you're throwing shade on one of my favorite antennas, which is your 40 through 10 off center fed, the mini Wyndham. Oh, I've had wonderful success with that antenna.
That is so much fun too. I can, but in my mind I can only pick two, right? So, but you're right.
Fair enough.
We're not throwing shade. I like that one too. That was a lot of fun to build and that went through. I played with that for months and months and months before I finally got it to where I wanted to go. But but again, with the tuner, I kind of like the random.
You just saw my Windows machine started doing an update, right?
No, stop. Really?
Yep. Still one.
Tell you, those things. But back to the little choke, right? So I have my dipole. I cut it for the middle of the band. I'm in the middle of a city, right, or in the middle of a giant metropolitan area. I get a lot of noise. For me, I find that the choke was primarily used to address just bringing SWR in, kind of flattening things out a bit, smoothing out any bumps in the road. And the byproduct of doing it that way was you get a little bit of noise reduction through that. And that was the purpose of that. But people seem to like that too. And the first one I ever made, I sent to Tony, right? And this is how I found out he had gone off of YouTube and had started in doing something on Instagram too. And I sent him one. I was like, here, play with this, and see what you say. He said, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then he dropped off the face of the earth.
Dropped off the face of the earth. I know. It's too bad. Another one had great.
Yeah,
great.
I like this.
Yeah.
His content then is as good or better than some of the content.
Oh, I agree. Yep, he did great work.
Production values,
Yes, he did great work.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, gentlemen, we had originally anticipated this would be like a 45-minute because we wanted to keep it a little bit shorter in duration. But aside from these horrendous internet issues, and I will be calling my cable company in the morning to get that straightened out for next time. For a first effort for us, and we envision this to be a monthly thing. I think it went. Technical issues aside, there was some great discussion, some great feedback from the folks who were watching. So, thanks
I'm
to
happy
everybody who was watching.
I'm happy to do this anytime you guys want. If anybody has any questions or anything, and they want to reach out to me directly, I don't know if you can. Can you throw my email in the chat?
Will do. Can you dictate it to me, Tim? I don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's just timothy.ortiz@protonmail.com.
I'm putting it in my chat too.
Yeah, I have no problem. Or they can contact you, and you can contact me, or questions, problems, issues, suggestions, ideas.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much, folks who are watching. Thank you very much.
Yes.
It's been a blast. I'm going to let my blood pressure settle down after all these internet issues, and
let it go
we'll
back
get
up
that
tomorrow
rectified.
when you call the cable company. Then you can crank your blood pressure back up.
That's exactly right. On demand. 11. Okay, gentlemen. Thank you so much. It's been a
I had
blast.
a great time. Thanks.
Yep. We'll do this. Definitely do this again.
Absolutely.
All right, see you
Look
later.
for another one sometime in the month of May.
Sounds great.
Okay, 7-3, everybody.
Bye-bye.